inhibitor container detected.
Dying Light 2 is a classic case of a love it or hate it kind of game. And let's be honest, you really didn't need me to tell you that. I mean, when you have a game like Dying Light 2 that strays so far from what made the original work, you're inevitably going to have some people that are going to be more dissatisfied than pleased. Let us not forget how popular and well received Dying Light 1 was, so it was pretty risky to bank on a sequel that basically changed everything about the tone, setting, and gameplay direction. And while a lot of people are going to be unhappy with the new direction that sequels like this take, I'd much rather have that than the rehashed sequels that we usually get. I mean, as much as I love Far Cry 4, if you compare that to 3, it's kind of like comparing a piece of toast to a piece of bread. Like, sure, I'd rather have this one, but how much did you really change? I feel like now we're kind of at a point with Dying Light 2 where they're basically ironing out most of the main issues that we were finding with the gameplay, but at the end of the day, a lot of the main issues with the actual game itself are issues that have been there from the start and can't really be changed. Like, sure, update the physics as much as you want to, but you're not going to fix Luan's shoddy on-the-nose character development. Maybe all I wanted was just to stop hurting. Yeah, okay, maybe we can find that out by ourselves, guys. I don't think you need her to literally fucking tell it to us. Like, seriously, am I the only one who's actually played Half-Life 2? You don't need every single character in your video game to literally tell you their motives, where they came from, what they're doing, and why they're doing it. Certain story decisions aside, how is the actual game in 2023 after all the minor adjustments, bug fixes, and updates? Well, frankly, I think it's pretty fucking great. The city of Villador was perfectly designed so that one moment can translate to the next as seamlessly as possible. Dying Light from the start has always been a game heavily about progression, from at the start of the game you being a weak little baby bitch, and at the end of the game you being an absolute god of zombie slaying. So what Dying Light 2 does with the central concept of the entire franchise is decides to completely run with it in its world design. In the beginning of the game, you're traversing through small areas that are very easy to get across and basically serve the purpose of showing you the beginning of the parkour system, and by the time you get to the central loop, you're paragliding around, grappling hooking, jumping massive gaps, taking leaps of faith, and doing whatever you want as a zombie-slaying god. I would be inclined to say it's a dead horse to talk about how good the parkour is, but honestly, if you look on YouTube, you wouldn't see as many people praising it as much as it should be. Speaking of dead horses, yeah, the melee combat in Dying Light 1 against humans really did suck balls, so how are they going to change it in Dying Light 2? Well, while there's still a bunch of room for improvement in the incredibly annoying ranged enemies, I think this is genuinely a really good improvement now that melee combat against humans is more based on your environment and timing. Compare this to Dying Light 1 with its amazing human-v-human combat, which consisted of either shooting them in the face or smacking them over and over with a metal pipe until they fall over. I also find it funny that in Dying Light 2, people really didn't give two shits about the removal of guns, despite it being in Dying Light 1 and its descendant, Dead Island. This is definitely in full part due to the fact that in both Dead Island and Dying Light 1, the gunplay paled in comparison to the melee combat. So when Dying Light 2 decided to completely remove guns outside of a cutscene and funny gadget, let's just say people weren't too vocal about it. I think now that the gut feeling update is finally released and is in full swing, I think we can finally appreciate that Dying Light 2's zombies are just as good as Dying Light 1's for the most part. I do like how you can actually have a fun time going out at night, but at the end of the day, it also does definitely subtract from the absolute shit-jorting horror of the first game, where little volatiles could be walking around every single corner that could rip your head off in less than 5 seconds. I also do find it pretty weird that the poster child of the entire franchise, the volatile, is completely shafted in Dying Light 2. They only really appear if your chase level gets too high, story segments, or certain dark zones. Oh, and if I was wrong about that part, please feel free to shut the actual Anyway, onto the soundtrack. If I'm being honest, Dying Light 2 probably has one of my favorite soundtracks in any video game that is completely in due to the dynamic music. If you're getting into your flow state, parkouring around the world seamlessly, then it will play an accompanying track to help you feel that much more the badass. If you get into a fight with a bunch of renegades, it will play another track that helps highlight the combat. And if you start to battle a special infected, it will play another song that instantly lets you recognize the kind of situation you're currently in. All of this would definitely be incredibly cool on its own, but if you couple that with the actually amazing dynamic music, it really does help it tie together. Every time you take a leap of faith in Dying Light 2 while the music is blaring, it'll do this incredibly cool dip in the soundtrack that just makes you really feel like you're in a movie. But as far as the gut feeling update goes, I think it does a great job of improving the game overall, making the gore more visceral and the physics a lot more fun. I'm hearing a lot of people talk about how the new Gore systems remind them of that of DyingLight 1, which is definitely intentional. I think Techland has finally found a good job of balancing the really cool and visceral gore from the first game with that of the super exaggerated and incredibly satisfying gore of DyingLight 2. I don't really want to talk too much about the story in this video, but despite the shade I kind of threw at it at the beginning there, I do really think that the story is pretty okay. If you look at the story from that of the greater gaming landscape, I do think that it's very unexceptional, but the story is an improvement over DyingLight 1's. Yes, Waltz is better than Rice, yes, Aiden is better than Crane, and yes, Luan is better than Jade. The actual plot of the game itself is extremely boring and generic, but I do think that some of the performances are pretty damn good, like Frank and Jack Madden, sometimes Aiden, and kind of Luan. But let's be honest, if you're thinking of buying any of these games, just don't buy them for the story. Nah, I'm just kidding, buy Dying Light 1 for Brecken. Overall, how is Dying Light 2 in 2023? Well, if you judge Dying Light 2 more based on the gameplay, which is how it should be judged compared to storytelling, I think in 2023 the game has a lot to offer compared to its contemporaries. And honestly, I'm pretty happy I can still say that after the recent release of Dead Island 2. However, if you are watching this video with the intent of making a purchase, I definitely recommend that you start with Dying Light 1. Even though I would still consider Dying Light 2 a better game, I wouldn't want to rob anyone of that amazing first experience of playing Dying Light 1 for the first time. I'll also say that since Dying Light 1 and 2 are so different, a lot of people do have their own preferences for which one they like more, so don't throw a shit fit in the comments if you disagree. And while I do think Dying Light 2 has just more to offer compared to the first game to me, if I were to judge them both more objectively and more generally, I think they both come out pretty even. Both Dying Light 1 and Dying Light 2 have their strengths and weaknesses that make them more fun for different people. And honestly, I think it would be pretty disingenuous to judge either of them as a better game, considering the fact that both of them have their strengths and weaknesses. But really, real talk, they both go on sale every 5 seconds, just buy both. Anyway, thanks for listening to my dumbass rant about Dropkick Zombie Simulator 3000, and have a good one. See ya.